Tell us a little bit about what you saw and being able to relay that message to Cora when you watched Kimbrel pitch and kind of help out so he wasn't tipping his pitches.
So tipping pitches, we hear about it all the time.
People at home understand what tipping pitches is all about.
That's amazing.
And that's remarkable.
I woke up at 4 in the morning. I'm on that Mark Wahlberg schedule. You know about this? Mark Wahlberg had a whole thing where he was like, him and Jimmy Butler like wake up at 2:30 in the morning to like work out together or something like that.
Why?
I don't know. He had this whole like rant about how like if you want to be a disciplined, hardworking man, you have to wake up at 3 in the morning so that you can work out for 3 hours before your kids get up, and then you could be there for your kids, take them to school, and then you go back to working out or reading the news or something. I was like, this just feels like you are the same as me, except instead of staying up late, you just wake up obscenely early.
Yeah.
It's like a different form of disordered sleeping.
Yeah. You're the Mark Wahlberg of the left. I've always said this.
I've always said this. Listen, you can't deny that if I was on that plane, things would have went down differently. I'm not going to say which plane.
No.
Dude, because I've been sick for the last couple of weeks, or like the last
Are we
week or
rolling?
so.
Are we live?
I don't know. Sure. Let's make it live. Right. I don't care.
Hey, that a bit of a Patreon vibe to this intro.
Correct. Well, because I've been sick for the last week or so, I've been very congested. AJ Ewing is so important to me. God, what a pro. 22-year-old pro. When I flew to Cleveland this past week, my ears just immediately just stuffed up. Incredible pressure, so much pain. And it's been getting slightly better for the last few days since then. I've been paying more attention to it and chewing gum for 72 straight hours and taking a shitload of Sudafed.
Mm-hmm.
And so my left ear is just ringing like crazy. I woke up at 4 in the morning, like Mark Wahlberg. It's because I was out of town this weekend. Right, to get on a plane. Like Mark Wahlberg didn't that day.
Right. By the time this episode drops, you'll know what will have happened.
Because I was out of town this weekend during the historic heat wave, I shut off all of my air conditioning and power and everything because I wasn't going to be here. But that means when I got back, it was like 84 degrees. So the temperature in the room is over 80 at this moment.
Jesus.
I was thinking before we got on, so I'm glad that you suggested that we started in Patreon fashion, ambling into the beginning of the pod.
Yeah.
Or rambling, you might say. I was going to suggest that we should start every podcast by like, you know how like when you start a baseball broadcast, it's like beautiful day, 81 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. I think we should start the podcast with like the forecast so that the listeners know kind of where our headspace is.
I like that. But like interior forecast. So like 80 degrees in this room right now. Bobby is
popping my ears.
Trying to pop his ears as we speak.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, it could just be like less. It doesn't have to be all temperature related. It could be like mental health status.
Jesus. I think we could save the listeners from that one.
Alex is wearing a New York City Department of Transportation hat that is honestly fire.
Yeah.
It looks a little like my Coca-Cola hat.
It does.
You know,
actually,
you're more of a public
on,
sector, and I'm more of a private sector guy. That's always been the divide on this podcast.
That's why we work so well together, a public-private partnership. That's what this is.
The famed PPP. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. We're just like a baseball stadium.
So what you're saying is we're doing a form of like high-intensity training right now, right? You've like...
Yeah. High-intensity interval training.
Right, exactly.
20 seconds of talking, 10 seconds of silence.
High-intensity interval podcasting, yes. Turn the heat all the way up. No sleep. If you can perform under these circumstances. Once. Not enjoyable.
Really? Tell me all about it.
It was like on a work retreat.
Oh, we've talked
like
about this on
mandatory.
the podcast. I remember this. We've talked about it.
It wasn't fun.
And I think I got a little crabby that you refused to do any sort of a workout with me, but yet you will do hot yoga with your coworkers.
Yeah. Once again, it was mandatory. I had to be there.
But really, honestly, at this point in our friendship, I view that as more of a testament to how you're more willing to be yourself with me.
Exactly.
You don't feel
I have no fear to say no.
To go out of your way to do hot yoga with me.
Exactly. I feel comfortable cheering you on from the sidelines.
Imagine you come as a spectator to a hot yoga class with me.
Right. I set my alarm for 3 a.m. just like you.
To be clear, I would never voluntarily wake up at 4 a.m. to do anything.
Yeah.
Except stand in line to get the Zoran soccer jersey.
Yeah, right.
What are we talking about today? What are we podding about today? Anything good?
No, I don't think so. Mostly inconsequential, kind of meaningless topics. Really, there's nothing on the slate today. Frankly, if you have better things to do.
Don't say that. We need the dedicated listeners of the Tipping Pitches podcast.
I kid.
No,
this episode is just as essential as all of the ones preceding it.
Which is to say, incredibly inessential, and that's what makes it so essential.
Exactly.
It's in essence is its essence.
Lost.
No, we're going to talk about my trip to Cleveland and my experience at the Cleveland Guardians game. We will slot Progressive Field into our very correct, inoffensive, unobjectionable stadium rankings.
Mm-hmm.
The Players Association passed some proposals across the table that we're not that interested in discussing. So if you came here for those, stick around anyway. Angels fired their GM, and the Mets might be the Angels East. So we're going to discuss those things, and I'm sure plenty more will come up. But before we do, I am Bobby.
I am Alex Baisley.
And you are listening to Tipping Pitches. Thank you to this week's new patrons, Drew and Jason. You picked a good one this week, Drew and Jason. You're the named sponsors of what is going to be an incredibly insightful, very on-the-rails episode of the Tipping Pitches podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see any of the feedback to our stadium rankings?
No, I didn't. Can you fill me in?
Everybody really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and thought they were right.
They were like, loved where you were going with the Coliseum situation.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was like, yeah, you guys really nailed the analysis of Camden Yards. You didn't leave anything on no meat on the bone there. And
we certainly left no meat on the bone during that segment. It took like an hour to do.
Shockingly, no one threatened to cancel their Patreon subscription over it.
I mean, that's kind of how I operate from a content creation perspective, right? You keep pushing the boundary, right? The sooner those cancellations start coming in, it's time to reevaluate.
Oh, you're kind of like...
If people aren't canceling subscriptions, we're doing something wrong.
Far enough.
I'll put the diamond. I'll put Chase Field in S tier. I don't care.
That's kind of like stolen bases. If you have 100% success rate, you're not stealing often enough.
Exactly.
Like you could be getting a little bit of extra value out of this by forcing some people to cancel by being so controversial.
Exactly.
Yet so right.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Although that wasn't on a Patreon episode. So I don't even know. Would someone cancel their Patreon subscription over something we said publicly?
I think so, yes.
Look, when we did the political alignment chart, a lot of people signed up. So I think maybe people want us to be more controversial. They've been waiting for you to fill the shoes of a since departed podcaster, and you haven't stepped up.
It took me a second. Wow, did you just make? Was that a
JD Vance?
Make that reference?
No, it's JD Vance.
Oh, right.
Because he's in the VP chair now. So
what? You act like that has stopped him from podcasting.
He's podcasting, honestly, more since he took over as vice president. Look, we all are called to podcast Some of us have been doing it for a decade now at this point. Other people, they've taken it on as a fad. There's my alarm. Gotta take the ice off the back.
Nice Angels shirt.
Thank you. Oh, on theme for today.
On theme for today. We're not going to start with the Angels, but...
No, we should start with the Angels. Let's start with the Angels. They fired their GM.
What?
Perry Minasian. What interested you about this firing? I know we've over the years talked about the Angels as sort of the barometer for major league incompetence. They are the most consistently underwhelming franchise, despite having on paper the resources that you would claim to want as a franchise in order to build an effective roster. You wrote this down as one of the topics that you wanted to discuss today, and then I linked it to my beloved Mets because Laura Albanese and Newsday wrote a piece sort of comparing the Mets to the Angels, given that they have claimed that they want to be more like the Dodgers, but thus far the results have spoken a little bit more like the team 35 miles south of the Dodgers. So let's talk about organizational incompetence.
Yeah,
something that we are probably the best qualified podcast to do out.
that's for sure. Mm-hmm.
We know incompetence when we see it,
and we're not afraid to say it
because we're an unfiltered, unafraid podcast. We're not like these other woke baseball podcasts talking about analytics all the time.
No,
we'll call out the Angels like we see it whenever we want to.
Yep. No one's safe here on the Tipping Pitches podcast.
Least of all, FBI investigated Artie Moreno. His name was cleared, but not here. You're still under in fraud watch on Tipping Pitches, Artie.
Yep. As you mentioned, Perry Minasian, 6 seasons, no winning records. In the last year of his contract, Artie Moreno pulls the plug. I mean, the Angels are on track for 11 straight losing seasons. That's having had Mike Trout for all of that time and Shohei Ohtani for like half of it. It's not good.
I can't believe Perry Minasian's been the GM for 6 years.
I know, right? They were sort of like, I guess we'll just rock with it, you know?
I remember when he was hired and I was producing Baseball Barbacast and we didn't know how to say his last name.
Yeah, I still pause before I say it, you know? I'm kind of like, there's a little bit of doubt in there.
5 years passed and nothing changed, and he stayed employed.
Yep. Yeah. He is the 5th GM under Moreno since he bought the team back in 2003.
1 year after they won the World Series.
Is being the Angels GM just like a structurally unwinnable position? Right? I mean, like there is no Angels GM that I feel like has exited that role with a measure of grace or anything like that. You know, like at all, Dipoto quits because who wants to manage up to an owner like that, right? Like, we should also note that the Angels brought in John Mozeliak, longtime, scion of the Cardinals front office, as scion. You like that?
I'm gonna stew on that one for a little while.
Yeah, I don't really know what it means, but it kind of sounded nice, right?
Not only was he the longtime scion, he was also a longtime steward.
That's true.
A longtime signatory.
Oh,
any other S words?
Yeah,
that you can think of.
No, actually, I think I've maxed out. Mozeliak comes in as the quote baseball operations consultant. His job is basically to run day-to-day operations through the end of the year and then find his replacement. It's awesome. It's awesome. I suppose that.
How do I get the role of getting hired for a year to decide who could do the job that I'm doing better than I'm currently doing the job?
That would be awesome.
That would be the perfect job for me.
That would be great. I'll just bounce around from job to job.
You're just describing
my own replacement. I know. Well, so it does kind of beg the question of like,
why don't you work at Deloitte?
Correct.
I had the same question.
Yeah. Is this the Angels trying to make the pivot into the like McKinsey-fied consultant, like gig economy? Yeah, bringing in someone like Mozeliak from the Cardinals, right, who have long been kind of acolytes to that way of running a front office. I'm curious. I don't say this to suggest that I think Moreno's like, I know how to turn this team around. But I guess at this point, what else would you do if you're Moreno?
Sorry, I got distracted. Reading a list of Angels GMs in their history.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like the front office consultant, former GM baseball consultant, like the baseball operations and strategy guy who comes in as a sort of consigliere to the GM.
Yeah. He's the fixer.
Is
He's the Michael Clayton of the Angels.
Be careful throwing around that terminology. Because the FBI has a different interpretation of the Michael Clayton of the Angels. No, I do think that this is a not uncommon role, and I don't necessarily think that it's a new age thing. Like, for example, many former players have become consultants or advisors to the general manager of the Yankees. Like, CeCe is an advisor to Brian Cashman, or at least he was before he took a role with Major League Baseball, the commissioner's office. And some of that has more to do with player relations, things like having intermediary figures between the front office statistic folks who are making the kind of managerial, cold-blooded decisions and the actual clubhouse and team chemistry. I don't necessarily view this in the same way. I view Artie hiring John Mozeliak as being like, I'd like what you had for a while there with the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. Steady success. John Mozeliak, notably the GM of the Cardinals throughout many of the Albert Pujols years, I believe. Albert Pujols spent a lot of time in Anaheim as well. But it's a little bit different than what Mozeliak's former franchise did, which was bring in Chaim Bloom to be a consultant and sort of transitionary figure while taking over that front office from Mozeliak to bring the Cardinals into the future. Artie was like, I want to do the reverse of that. I'd like to bring the Angels into the 2000s. Now, I'm not suggesting that Mozeliak is ill-suited for the role, but the problem with the Angels has never been putting a quote-unquote baseball guy in charge here. Like, they have had a slew of managers who are, either well-liked longtime managers or recently retired players, in the case of Kurt Suzuki. And a lot of them haven't worked out because there's kind of no there. There's no like structure. There's no groundwork of stability at the organization feeding these quote-unquote baseball guys with well-developed baseball players to put winning teams on the field. Instead, there is Artie Moreno making decisions for tomorrow with yesterday's brain, like with 2000s brain. Yeah. And I'm just like, this franchise is literally never going anywhere. It's a classic case of the owner is the ultimate inhibition to them overcoming this. And frankly, the owner across professional sports that it reminded me the most of was a little bit Jim Dolan, like the owner of the Rangers and the Knicks. But the difference between Artie and Jim Dolan is that Jim Dolan always spends money. Like, he would just throw money at the problem, and he would do it in, frankly, idiotic ways for decades. But he would spend into the luxury tax or the equivalent in the sports that he owns teams in. Moreno has ducked the luxury tax at every opportunity. In fact, a couple of years ago, in hilarious circumstances, where they cut a record number of players on the day before the trade deadline to get under the salary cap. Under the luxury tax threshold. Look at me, already normalizing the salary cap. Ooh, okay. And so therefore, there is no recipe for success there. There's not the spend your way out of the problem recipe. There is not the savvy, shrewd decisions strategy. There's just nothing. And I feel bad for Angels fans.
Yeah. No, I do too. I mean, they are one of, frankly, few franchises in baseball where I genuinely feel like the structural problem resides, sits solely at the feet of ownership. Most owners are bad and tend to get in their own way, but very few like actively.
Hey, now it's just a few bad apples. It's not
Yeah,
spoil the whole bunch.
I don't know. It's like, Angels, Rockies, and Pirates, where I'm sort of like, these franchises will not change until you like cut off the head of the of the king. Like, I'm sorry,
but the analogy here is get the leech off your back. I don't view the owner as the head of the snake of an organization.
Okay, all right.
I don't know who else would be.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Leave Dick Monfort out of this until we go to the Rockies game.
Yes, I know. Look, I'm reserving judgment.
Our friend who sold us the seats to the Rockies meetup, he may listen to an episode or two. You never know. All right? We want our name up in bright lights on that screen, Alex.
If you are a free agent GM, I just have to wonder why you would ever take the Angels role. And I suppose the answer is like,
free agent player.
Yes, actually.
The biggest player who signed with the Angels since we've been, of voting age, I guess. Since we've been adults.
Okay, yeah.
Is a guy who famously didn't want to play baseball anymore.
Yep.
What is that? And I guess Shohei Ohtani, the greatest player of all time.
Right. Yeah.
Almost the exception that proves the rule, though.
It's not good. It's not good. I really do feel for Angels fans. I have to wonder, kind of, as always, what's going on in Artie's mind? What's the plan here?
Yeah, why does he want to own the team still?
I don't know. As you might recall, right? He almost sold it a couple years ago. That seemed like a very real possibility, and then he was like, "Actually, I make too much money doing this. Never mind."
Yeah. He basically did the Kevin Durant "why I'm going to Golden State," but for why I'm no longer exploring selling the Angels. It's an interesting dilemma. I don't know that anyone has the juice to tell Artie no, or to really have enough cachet to build out the Angels' organizational structure in a way that would lead to medium and long-term success.
Yeah.
But also, even if they hired someone who did, like Mozeliak is very respected around the baseball world.
Mm-hmm.
If they hired a Mozeliak long-term, if he wanted that role, or let's say Dombrowski was like, I did it. I brought the Phillies a title.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'd like to take on a different challenge.
Yeah.
I'm playing out the golden years with the Angels.
Right. I've GM'd for a team that wants to win. Now I would like to do the opposite.
Artie wouldn't sign off on the things that it would take.
No.
Maybe Theo will come out of retirement for the Angels.
It's not the craziest thing.
You saw what he could do with the lovable losers in Chicago. Now let's see what he could do with the losers that very few people think about in Anaheim.
Oh, well, it's either that or maybe he takes the helm in Queens,
All right, let's get into it.
Let's do it. Angels East.
This has all been an elaborate ruse for me to take a, conservatively speaking, 5 to 10 minute victory lap on my David Stearns take from a couple years ago.
Yep.
I'm not saying that he's a dumb guy, because he's very clearly a smart guy. Is he a little too smart and smarmy for his own good? For my taste, yes. But that's neither here nor there. I just am very intrigued by the fact that when he was hired 3 years ago and he got a 5-year contract to run the New York Mets, pretty much the entire baseball industry coronated him as the next Andrew Friedman. Those were the words that were used. There was a Jeff Passan breaking news tweet about David Stearns being hired by the Mets, as if he was a free agent who signed there.
Mhm.
It was in that same vein. And so far, he took Billy Epler's roster to the NLCS in 2024 and then crashed out of the playoffs in historic fashion in 2025 and has built the worst team that money can buy in 2026. I don't remember exactly what happened at the beginning of when Andrew Friedman took over the Dodgers. I do remember them painfully parting ways with some of those stars of yesteryear and also paying out the contracts to get off of those players and move on to younger players. The Andre Ethier types, the Carl Crawford types. I don't think it felt like this.
Yeah.
And it certainly was not with the ownership resources that Steve Cohen has allotted to David Stearns to build the Mets however he would like to build the Mets, plus Juan Soto, because that was clearly a Steve Cohen job, not a David Stearns job. Setting aside the Stearns of it all, I mentioned Laura wrote that piece in Newsday comparing the Mets to the Angels, a roster that is old, underperforming, thin somehow, despite a $350 million payroll. There's not a lot of depth to speak of. And built around one star that, like, without them, they would literally be one of the worst teams of the decade.
Mm-hmm.
In Juan Soto. And that's unfair to Lindor, who's been hurt for a lot of the year. And it's potentially underselling the brightness of some of the young players who have come up this year in AJ Ewing and Carson Bench and McLean, who is still rookie eligible. But I have to say, they do look a lot more Angels than Dodgers. And I'm starting to get a little freaked out.
Yeah.
What, as a normie, you're not a normie, as a person with a normal relationship to the Mets.
Yeah.
What is your take on what's going on with them this year? Because there's a lot of people who have like a lot of very specific types of brainworms talking about them all of the time, myself included. But like, I actually just don't understand what's going on with them. It's hard for me to have perspective on it. So can you just like clear my head a little bit?
I don't think so. No, because it's even harder for me to understand what's going on with them. I like on paper. You look at the Mets, you look at the resources they have and the players that they have, whether they're superstars or rookies, and you say, that's a good team. That's a team that will be able to win at least 50% of their games. And probably more than that. And if you have a very smart person in charge of that team, he'll probably be able to fill those gaps. Why is it not working? What is what is going on? I genuinely don't know. And you know, then you have Steve Cohen going on like New York Post podcasts and explaining the rationale to John Heyman and Joel Sherman, you know, and being like, yeah, actually, I am extremely worried about the franchise right now. I'm like, okay, cool. That's good.
I'm glad someone is.
You know, I guess it beats the alternative.
The alternative being Fred Wilpon going on WFAN and saying, no, we are solvent. You wouldn't, if I could open the books for you, you wouldn't believe how solvent we are.
Right. Yeah. But I just like, even in sort of like the public face that Cohen puts forth for the team, right? The big splashy signings and the, you know, nominal like engagement with fans on Twitter or whatever.
What?
There just has to be more that's going on behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
That we like are not privy to. That is like structural. And I don't know if it's there being more to like the clubhouse chemistry conversation.
There was a really good story in The Athletic this past week too about the Lindor and Soto relationship. And there were some crazy quotes coming out.
I saw one of the quotes going around about how it was like, you don't kiss a girl with the first time you meet her or whatever.
I saw a lot of Yankees fans rightfully being like, Juan Soto was obsessed with Aaron Judge from the moment he got to the Yankees. That is funny and also true.
Yeah.
I think that the Lindor-Soto chemistry doesn't matter at all to the organizational health.
Right.
I think it's an interesting red herring for sports talk radio types to get really fixated on. But like, if the team was winning, this literally wouldn't matter at all.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
you're just looking for anything at this point.
It's frankly a specious argument to make the case that the team's not winning because Lindor and Soto aren't hanging out after the game. Like, that's ridiculous. The Yankees, Jeter and A-Rod actually hate each other. Like, they actually do not like each other at all, even still to this day, despite the fact that they can't get away from each other.
Yeah.
And they won the World Series together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fine. Worse things have been overcome. I have a sneaky conspiracy theory that Stearns genuinely wants to blow up the team. Like, he wanted to blow up the team after 2024, but they played too well because of the power of vibes and grimace.
Right. Yeah.
And wokeness. And Sean Manaea being a nice guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But he couldn't do it after 2024 because it was going to upset the fan base too much, and because Cohen probably didn't want to do it. And so then they continued to double down on the sort of Cohen method of spending $300+ million and winning every offseason, which is not one of many actual games during the regular season. And that Stearns is like making bad moves. Not like necessarily intentionally, like he's making moves that could in theory work, but are like high ceiling, very low floor moves. Like signing Jorge Polanco to play first base. If it works out, you look like a genius.
Yeah.
It's very, very low probability to work out how it needs to work out for a team that wants to compete against the Braves and the Phillies in the NL East.
Correct. And if it doesn't work out, like, that's a real hole there. That's not, you're not like, that's fine. We get average production from him.
But what is that? That's a soft blow up of the team because it lets you get off of having to re-sign Pete Alonso, which he did not want to do and he was never going to do because he is constitutionally against giving that kind of money to a bad defensive first baseman who's going to age poorly.
Yeah.
So he's like backdooring a rebuild with $350 million rosters every year. And like, I think he's trying to like 4D chess Steve Cohen, who wants to win. And so when he puts the roster in front of Steve Cohen, and when he puts the roster in front of the prying eyes of the media and the fan base at the beginning of every year, you could conceivably look at it and say that team could win. But Stearns is like, that team's not going to win.
Yeah.
So like, let me keep developing the farm system almost underneath the hood while all of this is going on, which he's done a good job of. But all that to say, why does it have to be this way? Like, why do we have to pretend like you're the GM who wants to put out, you want to be Brian Cashman and put out a $300 million payroll every year and shop at the top of the market when you clearly don't want to do that. So why did you take this job?
I don't understand why Cohen hired him, honestly. It was completely incongruous from the beginning.
He was the headline. Like, he was the best headline for the team to get. And he honestly hired him because of how well Andrew Friedman worked out. But really what this has been, and I've been talking about this ad nauseum now. I talked about it on Blake's TV show. I tweeted about it. Like, he's been a lot more like Chaim Bloom, where he's made some confounding decisions with the MLB roster while trying to shop at the top of the market and trying to appease a frankly psychotic fan base, while still doing a lot of things at the bottom of the organization that are going to have long-term successful impacts, like Chaim Bloom did for the Red Sox.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is that, yes, Friedman is brilliant and helped transform that organization, but it did not begin and end with Friedman either, right? There was massive investment up and down the franchise in order to turn it into this behemoth. And that is like the other half of the picture is like, you need total organizational buy-in on whatever the philosophy is. And I don't get the sense that the Mets have committed that way. It still feels a little bit stuck as a franchise and like not entirely like doing the motions, right? Like they are doing the moves that you think a large, well-resourced franchise should do. but I also don't look at like the Mets farm system, for example, or the Mets like development and say that is bar none best in the league, you know?
No. Well, part of it is that like there's less ground to be made up than there was when Friedman was doing this with the Dodgers. Like there was way more low hanging fruit back in the day. And now 25 teams operate identically. I guess, sorry, let me say it this way. 22 teams operate in this very fat middle of the bell curve of competency. 4 teams operate incredibly, and 4 teams operate like morons.
Yeah.
You know? And it's a lot harder to play in that middle of the bell curve and win on the margins. But what's weird, though, is that he was doing that with the Brewers.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite as much just him as we might have thought it was, though, because they've gone on to have 3 better seasons since he left. So clearly there was some sort of top to bottom buy-in, like you're talking about, of trying to build an organization in a certain way and having a point of view on that. I kind of don't really know what David Stearns' point of view is on building an organization.
Yeah.
I don't think that he's really effectively communicated that. I mean, I can guess based on how he ran the Brewers, but like high turnover, high risk moves that can pay off over longitudinal periods is not a strategy. To me, that's like what came out of his Astros tenure. Take the big risk, you know? Do the thing that the industry is telling you that you're not allowed to do because it's going to ruffle some feathers. When he took over the Brewers, he turned over more than 50% of the 40-man roster within the first year that he was the GM. He fired all of the coaches except for Craig Counsell that offseason that he took over the Brewers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that I want him to do that with the Mets, but if your thing is doing this, then do it, you know, kind of like shit or get off the pot, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and I suppose in the case of his time at the Brewers, like the difference is that Atanasio, you know, has owned the team at this point for like 20 years, right? And so had an opportunity to essentially line. I know it's crazy. I think he bought it in like 2004 or whatever.
It's crazy though because the franchise hasn't appreciated in value at all.
No, I know there's still kind of like that, which is why they haven't been able to get out of that like kind of middle market team, right? It's like they don't really make any money.
Yeah.
No, but it's like
for the good people of Wisconsin, though.
At the very least, like he had the opportunity to
Malibu Mark.
Yes, exactly. To set up the rest of the board, right? Set up the rest of the chess pieces, and then say, "I'm going to bring in Stearns, and he's the one who will be able to like manage the rest of this structure that I've put together." And you know, Cohen hasn't had that opportunity necessarily. And maybe desire. Maybe he hasn't had that desire to like blow things up entirely. I don't know. But if you're gonna drop Stearns into if you're gonna drop a new GM into a franchise like the Mets and try to win, frankly, you want Dombrowski. You don't want Stearns. You want someone who's like okay spending fuck you money and going a little bit above market and pushing the chips in to the middle of the table rather than trying to nibble around the edges.
I completely agree. I have always felt that Dombrowski is underrated for what he's hired to do.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow. I mean, he is one of the most talked about GMs
of
this century,
yeah.
if not the most. And he does get proper credit from people, but there is a type of analytics person who is kind of anti-Dombrowski because of what he does to the team by year 7. But who gives a shit? You guys want to rebuild the team in year 2 anyway. So if we have to rebuild the team in year 7, who cares? At least we took a swing. You know, like at least we spent this billionaire's money in the interim. Like if that's all we did, then fine. We could call that a moral success.
Yeah.
Silver lining.
right.
And but again, yeah, Cohen is spending a ton of money. Like Stearns is spending Cohen's money, but I don't get the sense that he's the one who wants to do it. I think that Cohen is the one that wants to spend the money.
Exactly.
Because he was spending the money before Stearns got there.
Yes.
His tenure has not been appreciably different in terms of payroll or success from Billy Epler. I mean, I think that his process has been better than Billy Epler's process of just phantom ILing players all of the time and getting fired for it. But like, I don't know, it hasn't turned out any better. Like, look, I know that things could have worked out better in a different world, and it's only been 3 years. But at a certain point, you do have to say that's 480 baseball games.
Yep.
How many baseball games is a reasonable sample size for you turning things in the right direction?
If the past is any indication, I think the move is to, as Cohen said, Stearns is going to live out his 5 years. I think you fire him mid-season in year 5 and bring on someone like John Mozeliak as an interim GM to just sort of get the lay of the land and then find his replacement. I forgot the Epler connection too. I know we're always like A's Mets, like they're the kindred spirits. Fuck, dude.
It's Angels Mets now.
It's Angels Mets. That's
the A's
tough.
have turned that
Tough
page.
scenes.
The A's kindred spirit is like the Rockies.
Oh, God.
No, I think the A's and Rays are spiritually connected.
Yes.
Ever since they played that wild card game against each other in 2018, I felt that they're just the same franchise
They
with
are
different
the same
colors.
franchise. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I am obviously beyond biased. I'm like emotional about this. Like it's hard to watch the team that he's put on the field. It is kind of like spreadsheet baseball gone wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be making arguments against sound analytical judgments. But they're not that sound, frankly.
Right.
They didn't pass the like common sense test. Like, is putting a bad defensive shortstop at third base, a position he's never played, gonna be good for preventing runs? Is putting an injured career DH at first base to replace a franchise icon gonna be good at preventing runs and make the fan base happy? Is having one starting pitcher who's pitched 8 games in his career a good plan? I mean, the Clay Holmes thing worked out. That's the one thing that Stearns has done, other than signing Soto, which was like a 5th grader could have done that.
Right.
That worked out really well. He got injured. Whatever. Bad luck. These things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else kind of flopped. That's why Dark Horse conspiracy theory, it's a backdoor rebuild.
Yeah.
And it always has been.
Oh, well, my heart goes out to you.
It's fine. Whatever. I can't be hurt by this team anymore.
I know
got
you
the-
can't.
I got the
I know.
World Cup. You know, the World Cup has been so entertaining to me that I haven't watched a movie in 16 days.
What? That's insane.
I think this is the longest I've gone without watching a movie since like college.
Yeah. Wow.
There was probably a period during the pandemic where I just like stared at a blank white wall for 16 straight days. Didn't watch anything or do anything. But that doesn't really count.
No. Damn, wellness check. How are you gonna break the fast?
It's a great question. The last movie I watched was Toy Story 5.
Nice.
I probably have movie tickets booked.
Yeah.
Like for the next week that I have
Oh my God.
to check on.
Dude, after this tea break, that first one back is gonna
It's
it's
gonna
gonna
hit
hit
really
so
hard.
nice.
No, but I've been watching so much soccer. There's like 3 games on a day.
I know.
And that's helping me get through this Mets Michigas.
Right.
I should break the fast with Minions and Monsters. That's real cinema is back.
That is, yeah. I hear that there are a lot of really interesting moral questions that come up in that movie.
Dude.
Just leaves the viewer really questioning themselves.
I've heard that this is the Minions entrance, the entrant into the Minions canon that is for the cinephiles.
I can't wait.
All right. I want to make you talk about the Jaylen Brown trade.
Okay.
Did you see it? You do know who Jaylen Brown is because he went to Cal.
That's right. Yeah. I did see it.
And because you're one of the super subscribers of his Twitch stream, you pay $19.99 a month
Correct.
to get exclusive Jaylen Brown Twitch streams.
Does he actually do that? You
Stream
can
on Twitch?
subscribe to his Twitch streams?
I don't know if it costs money, but yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Every time he's streaming on there, first of all, there's always like 2 other guys sitting in the room not saying
Yeah.
anything.
Yep.
I don't know if that bit is ever explained because I've never tuned into the Twitch stream. But they're always just sitting there in silence. and they have like beards and they're wearing sunglasses, but they don't say anything.
Should we get that for our pod?
We actually should. They're sort of like Doolittle types. They look kind of like Sean.
Yeah.
But then it also says the number of subscribers he has, and it's like 740. And I'm like, you should have more subscribers than that, bro.
Yeah, what?
But I don't know if that's paying subscribers. If it's paying subscribers, a nice little passive income for a guy making $60 million a year to play basketball.
Let's see. Now I'm trying to find his channel.
Jaylen Brown's Twitch channel.
Yeah.
Maybe he's on Kick, a website that I know what that is.
Yeah, it really does say total subscribers 414, huh?
I told you, bro.
Not that many.
I told you. You found it?
Well, I found no. I didn't find the actual one. This is just a screenshot from his Twitch stream talking about the trade.
You should be number 415. Go subscribe. Like and subscribe to Jaylen Brown's Twitch account. Stop what you're doing right now. Stop listening to this podcast and go subscribe to Jaylen Brown's Twitch.
I found it. Okay.
How many subscribers now?
Oh, he has like 100,000 followers. Is that the same as subscribers?
How think subscribers pay. I think subscribers pay.
Okay. All right.
And I think followers are just followers. It's kind of like how we have like 25,000 followers on Twitter, but they don't all listen to the podcast. And
this is just like money. This is crazy. Do you think he's really like, yeah, that's $5.99 a month I'm getting from 400 people. It's really moving the needle. Although what I hear is that it is really hard to make money as a professional athlete.
Dude.
So I know that every income stream counts.
It was one thing to hear Carmelo Anthony talking about this, but then when JJ Redick decided to weigh in, that's when I lost my shit.
I'm so confused. Is this like, is there someone pushing this narrative? Because it's been 2 straight weeks of like mostly NBA players coming out and being like, dude, 100 million isn't 100 million. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Thank God for that.
Just like 80,000 isn't $80,000 in your bank account when you're a fucking...
Wait, you have to pay taxes? That's crazy. That's crazy.
Again, if Carmelo Anthony wants to do this, I guess, like, vibe out, big dog. But JJ Redick, to go to Duke and come from a family that seems like it's doing just fine, and then make $100 million in the NBA, and then still currently be making probably $10 million a year to coach the Lakers. And you decide to podcast all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then complain about your signing bonus. I'm just like, someone needs to put a stop to this.
Yeah. It's simple as that. I just...
It's like, it feels as coordinated as when over a 3-week period, every tech CEO came out and was like, AI is the present.
Or like every actor was like, this is the future of art, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. We can't get left behind. We must pivot to being an AI first company.
I'm like, what the fuck is the Heritage Foundation like paying all these people to come out here and talk about how like, yeah, taxes, man.
Do you think it's big accountants?
Maybe.
or is it? Yeah, I don't know. You think it's a psyop to make people not want to pay taxes? Like even our
I don't understand that. I don't know who this resonates with. I don't know who's like looking at this. It's like, JJ Redick makes a good point.
Yeah, they picked a really great spokesperson for making it feel salt of the earth.
Yeah, exactly.
JJ Redick.
But Jaylen Brown.
Crazy. Jaylen Brown actually just takes all of his NBA money and pays it straight to the IRS, and he lives off of his Twitch stream. No, Jaylen Brown is on the Sixers now. I don't really care about talking about this from a basketball perspective.
Yeah.
I just wonder if the people who want a salary cap in baseball realize that their life is about to become exactly what has been going on with the Celtics for the last 3 years.
Say more.
When you have a salary cap that is a defined percentage of the cap, and then you sign a player to a max contract, that player immediately becomes a negative asset.
Mm-hmm.
because you're backed into this corner of only having a defined amount of money that you can spend. And so then when you want to retain your best player, they immediately become a problem for you.
Yeah.
And so what do? You have two guys who are making the same or about the same amount of money, and you have to choose between one of them because you can no longer build out the rest of your roster the way that you should be allowed to build out the rest of your roster, because you had an amazing organizational success by developing two players this good and having both of them want to stay and sign these big contracts for your franchise.
Yeah.
And then what happens? You can't win anymore with them on the team because you've agreed to not be able to build the rest of your team for the sake of saving owners money. For the sake of them not having to figure out how to for their team to make more money to be able to afford these players.
Yeah.
It happened with the Celtics. It happened with the Nuggets. It happened with the Warriors. It's happened with everybody. And the Warriors actually wanted to fucking pay it, by the way.
Yeah.
The Warriors had the highest basketball payroll of all time, and they paid it year over year over year. My young king, Joe Lacob, buy the A's, keep him there. Keep him in the Bay Area, move him back. Light years ahead. I just this is so boring. This is such a boring way to look at your team in a sport. The people who are transaction pilled in the NBA, it was fun for a little while when it was like free agent movement, guys choosing to sign and go to different markets and build their careers the way that they wanted to build their careers. But it's not even like that anymore. It's now guys signing with the team that they got drafted with because that's the team that can pay them the most money, and then being disgruntled for a year and a half and then getting traded to a team that they also don't want to be on.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's the fucking sport that you want to build with a salary cap? I know that I've been harping a lot on we don't want this to become financially like basketball has become. But this sucks. It's not interesting from a narrative perspective. It doesn't make sense from a fan base perspective. Are the Celtics happier to have noted podcaster Paul George on the roster versus Jaylen Brown, a guy who won Finals MVP for them 2 years ago? I don't know. Make it make sense, Alex.
Well, there have been no dynasties in basketball, right? I mean, generally speaking, you never see teams winning in back-to-back years or anything like that. So I think it's, as far as league parity goes, it's been really successful in that regard. And frankly, I think, what we see, right, is that the gap between the best teams and the worst teams is smaller than ever, right? Which is why every single team is essentially competing down into the last game of the season, right?
Absolutely.
I think this is one of the structural benefits of the NBA is that cap has created such a level playing field that honestly, it's kind of a coin flip who wins at the end of the year.
You're joking. However, in a backdoor way, they have kind of created parity, but it's not that they've made the worst teams have a shot at winning.
Right.
What they've done is they've made the good teams have to become immediately bad.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Which is so much worse. It's so much worse the way that they've organized it. They're like, oh, that fun young team that you had that you spent 8 years developing via the draft and developing those players and savvy free agent moves. Immediately, once those players become good, it becomes literally impossible to afford that roster. And so then you have to decide to get rid of some of them.
Yes, they're like, you were too smart about assembling your team, and that is an unfair advantage to everyone else who's not as smart as you.
Exactly. And as a payoff for being so smart about developing that team and assembling it over the course of a decade, you get to keep them around for 18 months.
Yeah.
These players that you've spent in Jaylen Brown's case, 10 years developing a relationship with. Fucking Ben Simmons has been on 3 other teams and become a professional fisherman in the same time that Jaylen Brown has been with the Celtics. They were part of the same draft. That's the guy that they have to ship down to their conference rival because they can't afford to keep everybody on the roster who is actually good. And listen, I'm the number one Celtics hater. Maybe not the number one. I'm in the top 5% of Celtics haters. And even I am like, this is silly.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't strictly financially motivated, but it was obviously a huge part of this. Jaylen Brown will be making $60 million a year by the end of his contract because he was eligible for the Supermax because he made an All-NBA team and they won a title. And immediately when they signed him to that contract, because he was going to command it, because all NBA superstars do, because the amount of impact that you can have on the game as an NBA player, because you can control having the ball in your hand. Immediately when they signed him to the contract, they were like, man, they're fucked now.
Yeah, it's underwater already.
Retained the guy that you turned into a superstar.
Yeah.
And now you're like, we're screwed.
Yeah. This has ruined us financially.
I mean, it's
goofy.
It's super goofy. It's super goofy.
I don't know. I think you're right in that fans who are agitating for a salary cap are not necessarily thinking about the implications of how it would actually play out. People just think it's like, oh, that means Dodgers just can't spend as much money.
Yeah.
That'll solve the problem.
Yeah, no, they think that it means that, like, instead of the Dodgers signing Kyle Tucker, we'll redistribute Kyle Tucker to, like, the
Royals.
The Twins.
Like, yeah.
That's not what's gonna happen.
I know.
I feel like the world we're living in is specifically designed to piss you and me off.
I know.
Like the
really
sports world, because we've spent so long becoming experts in these team building and financial and collective bargaining mechanisms, and then we're watching people who have not thought about this for longer than 30 seconds loudly share their takes about it constantly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's excruciating. And yet, you know what? We do our part. We sit down here every week.
Most of them are bots paid for by the owners.
Correct.
And that's tough. That's tough to think about how often we spend combating narratives that are being formulated in bot farms in Russia, paid for by Artie Moreno, instead of
you might be able to afford that player if you stop paying for bot farms and buying iced coffees every day. Artie.
Exactly. The boomers are never going to be able to afford their baseball rosters if they don't stop paying for Yugoslavian bot farms and parking lots and mayoral bribes.
Oh man!
Help! My family is starving.
Reality.
Help! I can't sign a GM. Okay. Good pod?
Good pod.
Was there another topic we were supposed to discuss? Progressive Field.
Progressive Field. How was it?
Dude, it was hot as shit.
Ooh,
it was like 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Probably the nicest baseball seats I've ever sat in. Nicest professional baseball seats. I was sitting right behind home plate.
So not that the seats were physically like nice, just like the location of them. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Quite affordable for a game on a Thursday night in 100-degree weather against the Chicago White Sox.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a walk-off home run.
Whoa.
Hit by Brian Rocchio on the first pitch he saw.
Wow.
They flashed a statistic heading into the bottom of the ninth as the Guards trailed by 1 run. Good game, honestly. They flashed a stat that was like, the Guardians have walked off the White Sox 35 times in franchise history. And I was like, I have no idea if that's a lot or a little, but it feels like a lot.
It feels like a ton. I mean, I guess they do play in the same division, so like they play each other a lot.
But that's
a lot of walk-offs.
But I suppose Cleveland goes way back to the 1890s, technically. Their franchise record goes that far back, and so do the White Sox. So we're talking about 100
Cleveland Spiders.
Yeah, we're talking about like 120 years of history. Yeah. They've walked them. That means they only walk them off once every 4 years. I guess that feels reasonable.
Right. Now it kind of feels low.
Exactly. I'm like, how many times have the Braves walked off the Mets? Probably not that many times because they're beating them by 7 runs.
Right, exactly. No need to walk them off.
Anyway, they flashed that stat and Brian Rocchio hit a 2-run walk-off home run.
Incredible aura.
My big takeaway from Guardians White Sox was that the White Sox are good and have a lot of good players.
They
just have like a bunch of dudes whose OPS is 800.
Yeah. Kind of don't really know how that happened.
And like a number of pitchers whose ERA is like 3.05.
Still unsure how that happened.
What is happening here? There were some White Sox fans on the way out of the game. I was overhearing their conversation, and they were really laying into Jerry Reinsdorf. They were like, the bullpen is just too thin. Like, we should have locked down this game. We should have been able to slam the door shut, but we had to go to a couple relievers that were not our A guys because we used our A guys in the previous series. And the one guy was like, and it's not just the White Sox too, it's also the Bulls. And I wanted to turn around and be like, my guys, come on.
That's right, brother.
Punch it in, big dog. Let's go. You want to have a Jerry Reinsdorf hate sesh? Right
Boy, do
here
I have the pod for you.
on Euclid Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. Let's fucking do it. I was pumped. Great experience. Fine ballpark. Fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I would compare it not unfavorably to Great American. I would say it's like slightly worse than Great American.
Okay.
And I'm not just comparing these two because they're both in Ohio. I think Cleveland is like a genuinely beautiful architectural city. I was almost like kind of blown away by it.
Yeah.
But the view out into center field is like not the most beautiful buildings that Cleveland has to offer. It's not necessarily their fault or whatever. But it's just kind of like slightly underwhelming.
Yeah. What is it? Just like office buildings?
Kind of.
Yeah.
And Cleveland, it's right there on Lake Erie.
Mm-hmm.
Friend of the pod, Steve Sladkowski's least favorite Great Lake. He made that very clear to me when I told him that I was going to a Guardians game. He said, and I quote, "Fuck Lake Erie."
Wow.
Canadians have strong opinions about the Great Lakes.
I guess so.
But the sightlines were nice. You could do a nice 360 walk around the ballpark, as you can with all ballparks, but it was an enjoyable one that I did. I had a delicious corn dog.
A corn dog.
Yeah. They had 3 different sized cans of Miller Lite. So I could have, it was a Miller Lite stadium. There's a big Miller Lite ad in left field. Miller brewed in Ohio. And I really liked that.
Yeah.
It's like, what if I don't want all that beer right now? What if I only want 16 ounces? And I did only want 16 ounces.
And then it sits there and it's 100 degrees and then it gets warm
Exactly.
by like halfway through.
The beer was not that cold, honestly, but I didn't blame them. It was 100 degrees. I had a nice time. Thanks to the Guardians organization for having me out.
You got the personal invite.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
From Big Paul.
Mr. Dolan himself. Paul. Fun organization.
What tier does the stadium
B-tier.
fall in for you? B tier. Okay.
Yeah.
Defensible.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid. We do have to have a solid base to build.
As
from.
I said when we did these rankings, baseball stadiums are either good or bad, right? It's like there's good places to watch a baseball game and there's bad places to watch a baseball game.
And
Most places are
to
like
watch a baseball game.
Yeah.
One thing I did like about Progressive was how it was situated into the architecture of the rest of the city, meaning like when you are driving around the corner or when you're entering onto the highway, sometimes you'll just get like a cool little snippet view of it. Like the exterior of the stadium was pretty interesting to look at and see from different angles walking around downtown Cleveland. But inside the stadium, it was just a B. I don't know, call it like I see them.
more of a looker than anything else.
They have these like bright lights on the outside of the stadium illuminating the exterior, making it visible from, like I said, a lot of different angles in downtown Cleveland. It's sort of like the Colosseums in Rome. Sometimes you just come around the corner and you're like, boom, there's the Colosseum.
Whoa, there it is.
That was my experience with Progressive
Tucked in
Field.
there. That's cool.
I think I called it Progressive Stadium a couple times. I apologize to the good people of Progressive. It's Progressive Field. Let me get that right. That one's on me. Hand up. I liked the Jim Thome statue.
Oh.
Philadelphia Phillies legend Jim Thome.
Jim Thome.
They had a lot of statues on the
real
walk-in.
good. Yeah.
Some good statues.
But MLB team's very statue-pilled these days, I gotta say.
I know. Yeah.
Kind of going a little overboard with it. That's
You should run for commissioner on that platform.
No more. Tear
Build
down those
fewer
statues.
Mr. President.
We're taking it back to woke 1.0.
Tear down those statues. Wow. Take it back to woke 1.0. Yeah. They have a little monument park out there in center field. Not quite the pomp and circumstance of the Yanks.
Mm-hmm. Can't all be the Yankees.
This is true.
Although I think of the Guardians as Yankees Central.
I think of the Guardians as a better organization in almost every way than the Yankees.
I mean, yeah, actually.
That's 20 stadiums for me now, officially. 20.
I got to get to work.
I'm getting close.
Yeah, you are getting close.
And guess what? I think I'm going to go to Toronto later this year, so that's going to be 21.
Nice.
Unfortunately, I have already been to Rockies, so that's not going to add. Although we'll add in my experience of the stadium because I've only been once.
Mm-hmm. We're getting there.
I'm bummed I have to go back to Florida, and I'm bummed I have to go to Texas to check those two off. No shade to any of our Floridian or Texan listeners.
Yeah, the Texas one's going to be tough. We're going to have to figure out when to do that. We're just going to need to like make a dedicated trip there for it.
I'd like it to not be over 100 degrees.
Correct.
I know that both of the stadiums are indoors, but I'd like to do some other stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
You should talk to your friend George, see if he'll have us out at the Rangers. He was the Rangers owner, right? Not that
he was the Rangers owner, yes.
But HW, the photo of him was throwing out the Astros
first pitch, yes.
In the wheelchair.
Mm-hmm. Just
what's
holding
up with
the ball.
that? A little generational divide there?
No loyalty. No loyalty anymore. It's brutal.
The office of the president used to have decorum, Alex.
We used to have... I'm going to do that bit on every single episode until you just start hitting the stop recording button.
For all you know, I could have cut it out of every episode. So this might be the first time people are hearing about it, and they might be really confused and think that you're weird. It's gotten nothing but hotter in this room. But I think I've gained strength throughout the recording.
I think so too. I think we're like, this was more of a warm-up than anything else. Now we're ready to do the real pod. Yeah.
You think we should just roll right into Patreon for this week?
Do you want to hear about my interaction with the man with a Garrett Cole jersey at the bus stop in the pouring rain last night?
What do you think the answer to that question is?
If I'm being honest, little hazy parts of the conversation here and there.
On your end or his end?
On my end. He was vibing. We were taking refuge from the rain and like trying to figure out how we were going to get home, and he was just like chilling there.
Yankees Garrett Cole.
Yankees Garrett Cole. Yeah.
Not a Pirates or an Astros one.
No. The big.
Imagine he's wearing a Yankees Garrett Cole and you're wearing an Astros Garrett Cole jersey and you meet underneath the bus stop.
Unstoppable object versus.
We're more alike than we are different. It could have been a reach across the aisle moment.
Yeah, honestly. Well, first he was like, that's a news fan across the street. Check me out on like Pix 11 talking about the fireworks. And I was like, okay, Randy, I will do that. His name was Randy. And then he was like, yeah, I like.
So he was interviewed like man on the street by Pix 11.
Yes.
And he wanted you to know.
And he was just like, that's a news van. I was like, that's sick, man. That's awesome. That's good. And he was like, we started talking baseball. He was like, their managers just got
talking
fired.
Baseball.
I was like, yeah, not talking Yanks though. We were talking Mets. He was like, they just fired their manager. He was like, that guy Keith Hernandez's partner is like taking over. And I was like, Gary Cohen.
Wait, was he talking about Ron?
I don't know who he was talking.
Maybe he was talking about Todd Zeal. Mets trying to get the seal of approval into the dugout.
I never really got a resolution on who he was talking about. Then he was like, yeah, Mets Stadium.
I love when you're having a baseball conversation with someone who's not quite at the same level of baseball sickness as you.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you're so close to saying something that's going to click, but you're not.
Yeah. And then he's like, I went to like Pride Night at the Mets game. I went to like support my friend who's like out. I was like, yeah, he was like, that's cool. They support them. He was like, you know what I learned? They don't support veterans. And then he just he was like, yeah, they don't support veterans. I learned that. And I was like, what are you talking about?
They do a veteran of the game every game.
Literally. Like, you shouldn't have gone to the bathroom during that. I'm sorry. You missed it.
I wonder who's handing out the Mets veteran of the game now that David Peterson is gone. Because that was his kind of primary role with the team for the last couple of years.
That was, yes. Designated. Anyway, that was me crossing the aisle last night.
To talk to a Yankees fan.
I had to
What was his name again?
Randy.
Did you tell him about the pod?
I just did not tell him about the pod. Frankly, I really wanted to get home, and he was really. I don't even think he was waiting for the bus. He was just sort of like chilling there. I was like, all right. I mean, like, I'll talk baseball with you. You know?
Were you waiting for the bus?
No, I was waiting for my Uber.
Oh God, Champagne Alex,
Duh.
waiting for his Uber again,
Mhm.
taking up valuable bus stop
Exactly.
space.
Oh, there were people out there who were like waiting in the rain, getting soaked, and I was like, "Fuck them! I don't care." That did not actually happen.
I'm just gonna let you keep digging.
To be fair, it wasn't actually an Uber. It was the like private car that we have on contract for the pod.
Oh yeah.
So it's technically already been paid for by all the patrons, so I wasn't that worried about it.
Yeah. Our hard work over these years, you supporting that hard work, has led to us having at all times an on-call yellow stretch Humvee.
I was going to say Chevrolet, but you know.
No, this is how we support the troops. We drive a stretch H2 Hummer.
The Mets might not support the veterans, but we do. All right. What a pod. Should we just keep going?
No, I think we should cut it there.
Okay. All right.
Unless you want me to read the entire list of Angels GMs that has been open this entire time we've been recording the pod. Off to the right on my screen. There's some names in here, man.
Yeah.
Did you know that Whitey Herzog was their GM? Only 2 years.
Like before he started directing, or
Boo. Boo. Do you think when Whitey Herzog and Werner Herzog ever were in the same city, they ever met up for lunch?
I want to see the contract offer.
I'm glad that at least one of us has to do an impersonation of a German new wave director. It doesn't have to be bad. It could be good. You know, we could work on our skills. But yeah, on Patreon, like a month or two ago, I did an extended period of the episode in the Werner Herzog voice.
Werner Herzog as the GM for the Mets. I want to see the Beatty. Get out of here.
I like how you're like primary
It's just the Mandalorian.
He was
the like two lines he has.
Bro, you got to fire up some Werner Herzog documentaries if you haven't.
Yeah, I know.
Ultimately, like, you are one of the top people in the world who needs to fire up some Werner Herzog.
I know.
Him and Wim Wenders' documentary work is
Hmm.
right in your sweet spot. There's this Vim documentary called Tokyo Ga that I watched before I went to Japan. And he basically just walks around, as is the style of many of these guys, just kind of unassumingly observing what is going on. And there's this like 20-minute stretch in the middle where he goes into a factory, into like a warehouse, and films the people who paint the food displays in the windows of Japanese restaurants. These like very like cartoonish but also accurate fake food displays of what the food actually looks like, and they go through this like painstaking detail of recreating the food and making it look delicious so that people will come in and eat them, and they're all over Japan, and Vim is just like watching them make this food and bring it to life, like doing voiceovers about how it makes him think about what is life, what is reality, to watch someone go through this effort to bring something to life that is a facsimile of sustenance, something that we eat to keep us alive. And the whole time I was watching it, and I was like, I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm alive at a time where I can open the Criterion Channel app and put this on and just hang out. you know. And then later that night, you know what I did? I watched the Mets lose in painstaking fashion. And that's the duality of life.
And that is the tipping pitches experience.
Yin and yang, my friends. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Tipping Pitches podcast, recorded in an 85-degree room in Brooklyn, New York. We appreciate it. We'll be doing a 3 Up, 3 Down later this week on Patreon. Tap in at the $10 level on patreon.com/tipping pitches if you want access to 3 Up, 3 Down. In 10 days, we will be starting our Tipping Pitches Audits series. That is available at the $5 level and above, meaning that if you are signed up for a paid membership at any level on patreon.com/tipping pitches, you will get access to the audit series. We're going in reverse order of 2026 payroll. We'll be using the luxury tax payroll, which means we are starting with the Marlins, the Guardians, and the Rays. I'm really looking forward to this series. I hope you all are as well. Again, sign up for the $5 tier. You can, right now I turned on free trials, so you can sign up for a 7-day free trial. Although if you do the math, maybe wait a couple days for that 7-day free trial to actually carry over to the 15th. You know what I mean. At that $5 tier, and you can check out the first episode in that, the first installation in that series. That's all I got. Thank you for listening. Back on Patreon in a couple days, back here in the main feed in 1 week's time.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Rodriguez. Tipping pitches.
Tipping pitches.
This is the one that I love the most.
Tipping pitches.
So we'll see you next week. See ya!